release of Spiderman 2 by Insomniac has been surrounded in controversy because, of course, the writing is pretty cringeworthy. A lot of the character models are vastly different than they previously were, and overall the experience just wasn't as good as the first game. But now we're finding out that after all of the controversy surrounding Mary Jane's new model, it appears that it was actually a self-insert by an Insomniac writer. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, self-insert characters have become very normalized. Over the past few years, I've had to talk a plethora of similar situations, more notably in comic books, but this isn't very surprising at all. We all questioned why MJ's model looked different. Hey, in my opinion, this model isn't like the worst character model ever, but at the same time, she definitely does not look similar to her model in the first game, which in my opinion was very dainty, very feminine, and overall just a more authentic MJ look. She was not a bombshell either, don't get me wrong, but she still looked relatively good, and in this game, I mean, she looks like a 35-year-old woman, which just isn't the story. There is only a year gap of time between the first game and the second game, give or take maybe like a month or two extra, but overall she should not look this wildly different, and she does. But now we've actually got pictures of one of the writers at Insomniac for this game that is floating around the internet that looks extremely similar to the new MJ model. And of course, not only does MJ look different in this game, but she also acts different. There is a section where she turns into Scream and she is yelling at Peter and she's talking about how I put my life on hold for you. You're so mean. You're so toxic. You've ruined my life. I mean, and even worse than that, just kind of attacking him because he is a man, and she, oh no, happened to be in a relationship with him. And I understand that she was, more angry at the time, but at the same point, you have to imagine this is one of the writers for the game. She most likely had a hand in this dialogue, so maybe that's how she really feels about men, that being in relationships with men is a waste of time. There's a lot of dialogue like that in this game, and we don't know exactly what she wrote in this title, but we do know that she wrote quite a few side missions. But to top it off, we actually have her biography from Insomniac's website, and I don't want to read it all, but I just wanted to read a few key parts. It says, "Let's get real for a second. Storytelling is impactful no matter what medium it's in. As a queer and hard-of-hearing person, I am looking forward to learn about the world around me while still telling stories true to my personal experiences. I aim to write impactful stories with representation that audiences could see themselves in. Who doesn't want to see themselves in their favorite games? Someone like me, because it's fictional and I don't imagine that I'm slinging around New York City with webs. I don't see myself wanting to, oh my god, I want to see my actual face in a video game. Like, that to me is just so narcissistic. Like, yes, I want to see features in characters and, personality traits in characters that I can relate to, but that's not what these people do. Like, she points out that she's queer and she is a hard of hearing person, and in the game, who happens to be Miles is, she's not quite his girlfriend, but his love interest, a woman that is deaf, which of course isn't a problem that there happens to be someone who's deaf in the game, but it's very convenient that she is saying she wants to write about her personal experiences and wants all sorts of people to be represented, and then this happens and she actually, is kind of ham-fisted into the story. Like, you even have side missions as her, where you have to go around and you have to do all this spray painting and graffiti. Like, she has her basically own storyline, and there's even writers at sites like The Gamers and the Kotaku's, just game journalists, I hate calling them that, who are saying the next game should actually be about her, which of course is absurd since we, only were introduced to her in this game. But she says that she aims to basically represent people so you can see yourselves in these characters. But again, an issue is that they don't just mean traits like bravery, courage, ambitious. We're not talking about things like that. They are talking about like literally like seeing your face and seeing the certain skin color, the different ethnicities, the different cultures. Like they want to push it to the max while also doing that, erasing the characters that came before and the established story that should be going on. Like in this game, ultimately, the Venom storyline, Peter gets the symbiote, and what happens? Gee whiz, the white guy ends up being the villain, and then the symbiote goes back to Harry. A white guy becomes the villain. And at the very end of the game, Miles, who happens to be the black character, revives Harry. Like, it's too many coincidences lining up. But going back to the self-insert itself, a lot of people are talking about this. I mean, this post has 7.9 million views at this point, and there are tons of different people calling this out. I mean, this is top tier narcissistic behavior. Some people are trying to defend it, saying y'all need to relax. The face used for Mary Jane Watson was that of Stephanie Tyler Jones. That she shouldn't have looked any different from the previous game because they claim that they used the same model that they did in the first game, but she looks so vastly different in this. In my opinion, there's no way they actually used that model, or they used the model and they twisted the way that she looked around so much that she does not even represent the same woman anymore. And to top all of this off, all of the writing problems, all of the self-insert problems, if you do not know, one of the senior writers on this game is Sam Maggs, a woman who said that she was raped in Grand Theft Auto 5, a woman who, yes, can be put in the category of women behind Gamergate. She was a little bit after, right? She wasn't one of the starting women, but she definitely has clung to what Gamergate became, in their opinion, of course, a harassment campaign against women in the gaming industry. But she is one of the senior writers on this title, and it's so sad because you can clearly see that is why there's so much of the message in this game. I mean, you're fighting climate change in this game. You're helping save the world. I mean, Harry and Peter have this big storyline about how they wanted to save the world together and they wanted to make it a better place. There are lots of, LGBT flags in the game. There's lots of characters, like I mentioned, like Miles's girlfriend, Haley, who happens to be deaf. There's just a lot of the message in this game, and then you top it off with the fact that two white guys end up becoming the villains. It truly is the icing on the cake. This is why I do not trust people like Sam Maggs, because on one hand, your political opinions and your belief in the message or not should ultimately not be a reason for me to judge you, right? When you go to work, you should be able to put your personal opinions aside and just work on the project. But it's clear that at Insomniac, they hired these types of people for a specific reason. There's a reason why the Sam Maggs of the world got hired for this project, why this woman named Ashley got hired for this project, because these are just the type of people they want working at Insomniac. And I've got to be honest, if they make a third Spider-Man game, I will not be playing it. I was very disappointed with this title. Hey, I personally thought that the combat was fantastic. The boss fights were really good, except for the fact that they didn't come up with really anything unique, and then they had you fighting the same boss with like 4 phases because they just didn't want to make more boss fights, which in my opinion was kind of a odd choice to make. But the combat was sensational, such a big upgrade from the first game while still capturing the essence of it. And if they just had better writing and didn't shove the message into your face every 5 seconds, combined with the cringe-worthy dialogue, it would have been a pretty solid game. But unfortunately, that is not what has happened here, and Spider-Man 2 overall is just a mess. There are a plethora of problems here, but first and foremost, as you can see, it seems that one of the Insomniac writers was a self-insert in this game, and she ended up self-inserting herself onto Mary Jane Watson. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.